fresh off of calling the Lakers win over the Grizzlies, is our friend Jeff Van Gundy back here on the Rich Eisen Show talking some wild playoff games and weekend number one. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing better for talking to you. Your 2 cents on that Laker win and how sustainable you think the play of Reeves and Hachimura can be for a team that, as we all know, has LeBron and AD on it. What do you got for me on that, Jeff?
Well, I don't know about Hachimura, but I think Reeves for sure. I don't think he'll score necessarily like that, but he plays good basketball on a nightly basis because he competes hard. He knows when to pass and when to shoot. He's a gifted playmaker, and he's got an edge to him. And Hachimura's got a size and strength advantage over the bench of Memphis. Memphis's front court is depleted by injury, and I think it showed the way the Lakers just attacked them in the paint.
And the way that Morant obviously is hurt and him calling himself doubtful for game 2. You mentioned the banged-up front court. Steven Adams leaps to mind right there. The general consensus going into this series was the Lakers had a shot. Now the general consensus is that the Lakers are going to win. Give me the case for Memphis to push back on that right now, Jeff.
Well, over the past couple of years, Memphis has won at a high rate, very high rate, when Morant hasn't played because of the great backup point guard play of Tyus Jones. So I don't think an injury in the backcourt to Morant is as devastating as the injuries to their front court with Adams and Clark out. So I think they'll be fine on offense, and I think they'll have to get some good minutes out of Roddy or Contour, whoever they choose to play. But the hardest thing for them is going to be, what do we do with Davis and how he just dominated at both ends. And I think they have to attack him with more intelligence, not challenging him one-on-one. I think they've got to search Jaren Jackson out in the post against James and whoever the backups are. I thought that they had some good success there. And then Desmond Bane and Brooks are going to have to play well. I think Bane's really, really good. Brooks is erratic on offense. And they're depleted right now, but they're not without talent. They could certainly win game 2 if they play well.
Jeff Van Gundy here from the worldwide leader in sports and ABC. As we have begun the NBA playoffs here in the 2022-2023 season. And then coming off of that game with Anthony Davis drawing a charge on Morant and Morant hurting himself on that play. Later on in the day, Giannis gets hurt as Kevin Love draws a block, not a charge. And I know you're not on the old Twitter machine, Jeff, but there is a full-on conversation going on about how maybe for player safety in this day and age with faster players, bigger players, Wembayama is coming to get rid of the charge in basketball. What are your 2 cents and thoughts on that one, Jeff?
Well, obviously, the injury situation is hard for all those teams to absorb. And I think going back to like a Derrick Rose situation when he used to attack with reckless abandon with that athleticism similar to Morant's, you can see some more challenging falls. I don't know about eliminating the charge. I think the NBA, far greater than the college game, calls more blocks than charges, which I think is a good thing. But eliminating it, I don't know then how you would help if you would just everything had to be a block shot. I think Mark Cuban recommends that we extend the restricted area out another foot. I think that's fine too. So I think you have to have some. Certainly, you have to have some. You have to have thoughts, but it's also on the player, the offensive player attacking, to be under control and to be able to avoid the contact by sliding by. So I think it's an interesting topic, and I don't think the solution will be easy.
Well, I mean, not to add any more on the flagrant foul table, because that the way sometimes we stop a game to check on whether it's a flagrant this or a take foul that, and we're stopping games for heading over to a table and we're putting on headsets and we're looking at video. But maybe if a player slides in too late, that could be considered a dangerous play, and it would give a player a second thought to do that. What do you think about that idea, Jeff?
I think certainly you could do that. Again, the trade-off is always more dead time for the fan. But certainly there are dangerous plays, and similar to that is the block out where the guy has already gone up to rebound and a guy sort of undercuts him to try to block him out once he's already in the air. I think that is a similar type of play that can obviously lead to dangerous falls. I think all of that is up in the air, and you just have to think of the unintended consequences as you try to, make the game safer for the players.
Jeff Van Gundy here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the Suns losing to the Clippers. How concerned would you be as a Phoenix Suns fan right now? I know they're stacked, but the Clippers seem to be deeper, and they use that depth along with some timely defense from Russ last night to come up with the W. I don't know how much of that game you got to see coming off of your broadcast, but I'll give you the floor on that subject if you don't mind, Jeff.
Yeah, I didn't see the end, but obviously Phoenix doesn't know its team as well as the Clippers know its team. So played Durant and Booker huge minutes. I think Chris Paul has got to, obviously orchestrate, the attack exceptionally well. The bench play of Phoenix, you see Monty Williams going to a lot of different people for short minutes. It'll be interesting to see if he consolidates those minutes into 2 or 3 guys versus a few minutes for a lot of different players. But yeah, I think if you're Phoenix, you should be concerned. Kawhi Leonard, every game he actually plays, you're reminded just how good he is. And they have talent, they have good depth, and it's going to be, that series is going to be a hard-fought series.
How deep a run do you think the Kings can make, Jeff?
Well, I'm still picking the Warriors to win that series.
Okay.
But I think the Kings are a dynamic team. I think Sabonis has to play better. Certainly Monk was an incredible pickup from a bench offensive production standpoint. And I think Fox is in, I think it's year 6. And, he's finally getting a taste of playing winning basketball. And I think some of these young players who come into these downtrodden franchises who lose at such significant rates early in their career, they can become numb to the losing, the bad habits that they're acquiring. And I think it's imperative that even when you're losing, that you're playing winning basketball, meaning that you're doing the things right. And I think Mike Brown and his staff have done a tremendous job. They've got an offensive juggernaut. Defensively, they're not very good, but their offense is elite, and they didn't even get a good game from Sabonis. So it's going to be fun watching that series. 2 different but high firepower teams. I would expect that Golden State would bounce back and play well, but Sacramento at home, I think they're going to play another good game.
Wow, I mean, if you think the Warriors advance, and let's just say that the Lakers do what they just did and can sustain it, certainly with Morant out, I mean, Golden State versus the Lakers in a second-round series would just be quite something. Boston and Philadelphia as well. And then again, I'll just again, I know it's just one game, but Knicks Heat, we all know, Jeff, that's got some history. You know what I mean?
Oh,
for a playoff series.
We are skipping some steps here, Rich.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would say
yada the rest of the first round.
Yeah, because
Jeff.
Gregg Pppovich coined that phrase, you can't skip steps.
Yeah.
So I know he's not a big sports radio guy, but if he happens to be listening right now, he's a little bit angered at Rich Eisen for how many different steps he skipped along the way to his dream matchup.
He's throwing his screaming eagle at the radio, his big old red wine. He's throwing it at the radio.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
No, I know I skipped a bunch of steps, but I mean, what I just said is kind of possible, though, don't you think? For this,
I'm not sure about the Knicks Heat matchup, but certainly the Lakers and the Warriors. I mean, it's possible, and it would be intriguing, and it would be great television. But I never discount these young teams' ability to bounce back, find ways, and the way the Memphis. I thought both of those series, Memphis and the Lakers, Sacramento and the Warriors, were sort of toss-up series anyway. And so it'll be interesting to see game to game. Can Memphis, with losing game one and the pressure of trying to win game two, maybe down Morant and down those other front court guys, does it kick them into a higher level of effort and intensity and passion?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they a little bit defeated because of the untimely injuries? I can't wait to see their response.
Well, in the couple of minutes I have left here with you, Jeff Van Gundy, let's do story time. Since Gregg Pppovich is finally going to the Hall, it's one of those where you're kind of shocked that he's not already there. And basketball is obviously a sport where active coaches can get put in the Hall. You got your favorite Gregg Pppovich story? You got a good Pop story for me, Jeff Van Gundy?
I don't know if I have a story from the NBA days, but I got to say, I worked with him on the World Cup and the Olympics. I was helped in scouting,
mm-hmm.
but I was there every day to watch him.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, he was so invested, and he's so good with the players. He has the ability to push, prod, but also establish these deep bonds of trust. And I really admired him just watching how he worked in a very, very challenging situation.
Yeah, I'm sure, because again, those are the all-star teams of all-star teams in many ways, and with a lot of jockeying, I imagine that he was able to. You watched him negotiate that firsthand.
Yeah, I think it just even when you haven't coached a guy, and you sort of know him from competition.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're going to instantly, form a bond necessary for a team in moments of stress to be able to have that trust that you need to carry you home. And I just watched how diligent he was at establishing those winning-type relationships when it's not easy and it's done in a very short amount of time. I think a lot of it stems from the respect he's garnered from the players for how a good a coach he is, but also I think he's garnered rightfully the idea that he cares deeply about his players and their success. And it was really fun to watch him work up close.
All right, Jeff, thanks for the time. Greatly appreciate it. What's next on your docket? Where do you go from here?
We will our crew is going to be in New York for games 3 and 4 of the Knicks and Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, gosh. That place, man. The Garden for a playoff game. That is just, I'm sure the memories will be rushing back for you when you're in that building for that.
It's always a great place to go to in the playoffs. And just like, there's so many great buildings in the playoffs. The thing I always appreciated about the Garden, it was the same when they were playing in the regular season, a last place team as it was against, a Chicago Bulls team in the regular season. that fan base was there every night. And if you played bad, they let you know. And if you played well, they let you know that too. I appreciated the crowd's honesty for the play that was presented.
I love that. Great way to put it. And then, of course, you always know you're going to get the opposition's best game too. It really is. You just knew it.
Depending on how long their stay in New York was, I think that part was a little bit overrated. I saw some teams that made it to shoot around approximately the same time they came in from the previous evening. So it wasn't like you always got their best. I think Miami's always had that advantage down in South Beach as well.
Straight from I guess the club to the arena. Is that what you're saying?
I tell you what, when teams played back to back in New York,
yeah,
those were the games that you really worried about because they weren't out the night before. Yeah.
There you go. That's information I did not have. Thanks for making me smarter, Jeff. Really always appreciate the calls. Always. Thank you.
It, man.
Right
Take
back
care.
at you. That's Jeff Van Gundy, an analyst throughout the NBA playoffs, coverage through the conference finals and the NBA finals on ABC. Right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.